Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Today we're going to cover Genesis chapter 45 and 46. Well, I could say a lot about it, but let's let the text speak for itself and jump right in. Genesis chapter 45. Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everyone withdraw from me." So there was no one else about when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. His sobs were so loud that the Egyptians could hear, and the news reached Pharaoh's palace. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still well?" But his brothers could not answer him, so dumbfounded were they on account of him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come forward to me." And when they came forward, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, he whom you sold into Egypt. Now, do not be distressed or reproach yourselves because you sold me hither. It was to save life that God sent me ahead of you. It is now 2 years since there has been famine in the land, and there are still 5 years to come in which there will be no yield from tilling. God has sent me ahead of you to ensure your survival on earth and to save your lives in an extraordinary deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh, lord of all of his household and ruler over the whole land of Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me without delay. You will dwell in the region of Goshen, where you will be near me, you and your children and your grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all that is yours. There I will provide food for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come, that you and your household and all that is yours may not suffer want. You can see for yourselves, and my brother Benjamin for himself, that it is indeed I who am speaking to you. And you must tell my father everything about my high station in Egypt, and all that you have seen, and bring my father here with all speed." With that he embraced his brother Benjamin around the neck, and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. He kissed all of his brothers, and wept upon them, and only then were his brothers able to talk to him. The news reached Pharaoh's palace. "Joseph's brothers have come." Pharaoh and his courtiers were pleased. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Say to your brothers, do as follows. Load up your beasts and go at once to the land of Canaan. Take your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you shall live off the fat of the land. And you are bidden to add, do as follows. Take from the land of Egypt wagons for your children and your wives, and bring your father here. And never mind your belongings, for the best of all the land of Egypt shall be yours." The sons of Israel did so. Joseph gave them wagons as Pharaoh had commanded, and he supplied them with provisions for the journey. To each of them, moreover, he gave a change of clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and several changes of clothing. And to his father he sent the following: 10 he-asses laden with the best things of Egypt, and 10 she-asses laden with grain, bread, and provisions for his father on the journey. As he sent his brothers off on their way, he told them, "Do not be quarrelsome on the way." They went up from Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. And they told him, "Joseph is still alive. Yes, he is ruler over the whole land of Egypt." His heart went numb, for he did not believe them. But when they recounted all that Joseph had said to him, and when he saw the wagons Joseph had sent to transport him, the spirit of their father Jacob recovered. "Enough," said Israel. "My son Joseph is still alive. I must go and see him before I die." Touching little family reunion scene. Now remember, till this point, Joseph has been playing his brothers. He's been testing them. But we see this weird relationship, this weird dynamic that's going on. Reuben is surprised to find that his brother is still alive, because when he got back, his brothers told him that he had been killed. Judah who is the one that sold him into slavery, is forgiven. Joseph, I should be saying, is thrilled that he wound up in Egypt. Despite the fact he had some setbacks and difficulties, he's wound up in a position of great wealth and is now able to support his family. So the trick is, how do Reuben and Joseph feel about each other? Reuben's like, hey, wait a second, you told me he was dead. And Judah's like, well, I kind of had to make sure everything was okay. And all the other brothers went along with it. And in the end, Jacob, Joseph's father, doesn't believe them either. After all of his sons swore up and down that he had died. Reuben got there first and told him, my brothers are going to kill him. They showed him the bloody Technicolor Dreamcoat. And, as it turns out, his son is still alive. Now, interestingly, Joseph focuses on his brother Benjamin, because they're children of the same mother, and he warns his brothers, do not be quarrelsome along the way. He's still looking out for his baby brother. In all this, despite the fact he's reconciled with his brothers, he's put them through tests, he's done everything, he's still saying, hey, don't mess around on the way back, because I'll be waiting when you get there. One of the more strange things is that his servants are just outside the room, hear this, and the first thing they do is run and tell the Pharaoh. Pharaoh is overjoyed. Hey, not only do I got this one guy that's here to help me out, we're going to have the whole bunch of them. This is fantastic. Yeah, go take the best, whatever you need. Take them, bring them, yeah, let them settle here. Boy, that's going to change in a couple chapters, but right now, everything is turning up roses for Jacob and his children, and they're all their families. They're in Egypt. They're being treated as literal royalty. They're being given a part of Egypt as their own. Now, Goshen, we're not 100% sure where it is today. There's some archaeological signs that it might be in the eastern part of Egypt, but there's nothing really that matches it. The actual Exodus story has never been archaeologically confirmed. So when we read the Bible, we always have to keep in mind that it is a story, it's a morality story. It has rules and regulations for proper conduct. Joseph is testing his brothers, which is proper. He's making sure that they're all on the level, seeing if they learned their lessons after throwing in a pit and selling him and telling their father he was dead. So yeah, it's more than mythology, it's cultural mythology. So it's very sacred to a couple cultures. But most importantly, it likes to trace these family records. And that's what we're going to go into now. Get ready. We got another genealogy list coming up. I would tell you I'd try to rush through this, but pronouncing these names is not pleasant. So I'm going to do it as quickly as I can, but the beginning and the ending are worth it. So, in chapter 46, when Jacob, or Israel, I should be calling him Israel. His name is Israel, but the Bible flips back and forth. So just remember, when I say Jacob and Israel, same guy. Chapter 46. So Israel set out with all that was his, and he came to Beersheba, where he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. God called to Israel in a vision by night, Jacob, Jacob. And he answered, Here. And he said, I am God, the God of your father. Fear not to go down to Egypt, for I will make you there into a great nation. I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I myself will also bring you back. And Joseph's hands shall close your eyes. So Jacob set up from Beersheba. The sons of Israel put their father Jacob and their children and their wives into the wagon Pharaoh had sent to transport them. And they took along their livestock and the wealth that they had amassed in the land of Canaan. Thus Jacob and all of his offspring with them came to Egypt. And he brought to him with Egypt his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. And these are the name of the Israelites, Jacob and his descendants who came to Egypt. Jacob's firstborn, Reuben, Reuben's sons, Enoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon's sons: Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Saul, the son of a Canaanite woman. Levi's sons: Gershon, Kohath, Merari. Judah's sons: Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan had died in the land of Canaan, and Perez's sons were Hezron and Hamul. Issachar's sons: Tola, Puvah, Yob, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons: Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These were the sons whom Leah had borne to Jacob in Padan Aram, in addition to his daughter Dinah. Persons in all, male and female, 33. Gad's sons: Ziphion, Haggai, Shunai, Esbon, Eri, Arodai, and Arlai. Asher's sons: Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah, and their sister Sirah. Beriah's sons: Heber and Malachiel. These are the descendants of Zilpah, who Laban had given to his sister Leah. These she bore to Jacob, 16 persons. The son of Jacob's wife were Joseph and Benjamin. To Joseph were born in the land of Egypt Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore to him. Benjamin's sons: Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Echai, Rosh, Mopim, Hupim, and Ard. These were the descendants of Rachel who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. Dan's sons: Hushim. Naphtali's sons: Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shelem. These were the descendants of Bilhah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Rachel. These she bore to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Jacob who came to Egypt, his own issue aside from the wives of Jacob's sons, all these persons numbered 66. And Joseph's sons who were born to him in Egypt were 2 in number. Thus, the total of Jacob's household who came to Egypt was 70 persons. He had sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to point the way before him to Goshen. And when they came to the region of Goshen, Joseph ordered his chariot and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And he presented himself to him, and embracing him around his neck, he wept on his neck a good while. Then Israel said to Jacob, "Now I can die, for having seen you myself that you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and give the news to Pharaoh, and say to him, 'My brothers and my father's household, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. These men are shepherds. They have always been breeders of livestock, and they have brought with them their flocks and herds and all that is theirs.' So when Pharaoh summons you and asks, 'What is your occupation?' you shall answer, 'Your servants have been breeders of livestock from the start until now, both we and our fathers, so that you may stay in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are abhorrent to Egyptians.'" So, yeah, lots of stuff happening here. The genealogy is actually somewhat interesting in this case, because it says that Leah gave Jacob 33 descendants, whereas Rachel gave her 14. This is contrary to what we were told before, and indeed the servants are also counted. Now, the numbers are troubling. We see this, all the people coming from Canaan were 66, and then with Jacob's household who came to Egypt is 70. So, 66 plus 2 plus 1 plus Joseph's wife. Okay, but Joseph was already there. So how do you go from 66 people? I mean, yes, technically Joseph came from there, but he married an Egyptian woman. So that number from 66 to 70 is troubling. But on the other hand, women were kind of adopted into the household in which they married, much in the same way they are in the modern day. We'll forgive them the difference of one for the sake of this being the story that it is. We also see Beersheba. this name comes up again and again. Jacob sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. We suddenly are not referring back to Abraham. We have until this whole time, throughout Jacob's life, Israel, gone back to the God of your father Isaac and the God of your father Abraham. Suddenly Abraham's being left strange, but we'll move on from that. Once we actually get into the whole Goshen thing, we see the seeds being set for the future. Shepherds are abhorrent to Egyptians. Now, why do you think shepherds would be abhorrent to Egyptians? Egyptians certainly liked their meat. It was nothing strange to them. But the time this is happening, there's a lot happening in the world. This is probably just after or just before when the sea people started appearing. And there's always this traditional conflict between civilized people and shepherds, because civilized people, farmers, have something to protect. They have lands, they have stuff. Shepherds are prone to letting their flocks graze wherever it is. So telling the Egyptians they are shepherds, it's just a little bit strange. And we also know the family has done a heck of a lot more than just be shepherds. So it does seem like Joseph is trying to protect his family and keep the Egyptians away from them. There does seem to be a vague memory of the prophecy not to go down to Egypt. Remember, God actually warns Jacob, you can go down to Egypt, I'm going to pull you out. So they're doing all this at God's bequest. So 2 chapters, they match very well with each other. And there is a little bit of inconsistency in the numbers, but I'm just going to let it go for now. No point arguing over it. So there we are. I'm getting excited because we're about to get into Genesis and into Exodus. How about you? Please feel free to leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and we hope you have a fantastic day.